Today we will talk about a South Asian country which has descended into utter chaos. And the situation in this country is only getting worse. From an economic crisis to political mayhem, everything that could possibly go wrong is going wrong. Yes, we are talking about Pakistan. To talk about Pakistan's poly-crisis, we're now being joined by Imtiaz Gul, a journalist from Islamabad. Thank you so much for joining us on WION, Mr. Gul.
Welcome.
So Pakistan is going through multiple crises at the moment. But first, let's talk about the country's economy amid IMF bailout impasse. The IMF has suggested several measures. Do you think Pakistan will be able to fulfill them?
Well, I think Pakistan is very much in line with the IMF program. It has agreed to most of the demands, and this is the only way to guarantee funding from the IMF, which will then open a way for getting support, getting fresh loans from bilateral sources. So I think this is, after a lot of give and take, Pakistan has finally agreed to nearly all the conditions that have been placed by the IMF.
So you mentioned that Pakistan will get an IMF bailout and it is doing everything that it can to secure it. But I want to ask you that why is there a political reluctance regarding the IMF bailout at the moment?
Well, political reluctance is always because of the additional taxation that the government imposes, because they have to generate additional resources as demanded by the IMF. And traditionally, Pakistan's governments have shifted the adjustment burden to the common people. And obviously, when the common people, common Pakistani is hit by inflation, by higher prices, then it generates socio-economic turmoil. And that's why the elites, the successive governments have been extremely reluctant in imposing new tax measures, which are going to have sort of crippling effect particularly for the common people, because prices of electricity, gas, and other utilities are being jacked up. In fact, the gas prices have gone up more than doubled, up to 112%.
Right. I was just coming to that.
So
that the economic situation in the country is also causing a massive hole in pockets of local consumers in Pakistan. Like you mentioned, that 1 litre petrol would now cost you around 272 Pakistani rupees and a litre of milk at around 210. I want to ask you that how do you think these prices will impact the people, especially after the catastrophic floods in the country?
Well, the impact of the floods was not that devastating as much the new hike in prices and the new taxes. We already, as is the rest of the world, had been experiencing an inflationary cycle in the country. But the inflation in the last 10 to 12 months has gone up beyond the means, beyond the reach of the common man. And the new increases are likely to hit the common man. They shall have to dig deeper. And obviously, the petrol prices, anything that moves the wheel, that means whether it's gas or petrol, if its price goes up, then the rest of the things automatically become expensive, and some of them out of the reach for the common man.
Now, we spoke about the economic situation of Pakistan. Let's talk about the political situation of the country. Its politicians are engaged in a violent power struggle. How exactly will the country find a solution in a situation like this?
Well, I think the only solution that we can get is through consensus. Once all the political parties sit together, agree to accept each other. Right now, the entire focus of the ruling alliance, ruling coalition is on former Prime Minister Imran Khan as to how to marginalize him, how to eliminate him from Pakistan's political landscape. Their entire energy seems to be focused on just one person. And this is what has caused a sort of massive instability in the country. And this is also a contributory factor to Pakistan's economic crisis, just because this country is not finding the stability that it needs for addressing the economic issues. And this has been also a condition by the IMF to find a consensus solution. The IMF had been, for instance, reluctant in signing of a deal with Pakistan that lacks political consensus. And Right now, the Imran Khan's party is facing massive harassment, persecution through a slew of charges, including sedition, terrorism, and a number of party stalwarts are running from pillar to post from one court to the other court to get bails and legal protection. So that is, in this situation, any political stability or consensus on an economic program looks unlikely.
Right, there's also like a continuous blame game going on regarding the rising terrorism and suicide attacks in Pakistan. Who is to be blamed for it?
Well, obviously, it's a long history of violence in Pakistan. It all started with the Shia Sunni back in 80s, and it got into the Afghan equation came into play, then the Afghan jihad and the war on terror. So there are multiple factors, the entire situation gave rise to terrorist outfits, which also then morphed into various smaller franchises like the Daesh, ISK, Al-Qaeda basically has been the umbrella organization. So it inspired a number of people inside the country as well as in Afghanistan. So all of them have been dreaming about this caliphate, establishing their own caliphate in Pakistan. Even Hazrat Hizb ut-Tahrir did that. So there are multiple factors that have contributed to terrorism and to subversion, as we saw. Right now, the proxy war that has been going on in the border regions is restricted to the border regions in which security forces are the primary target. And this is what we hear every now and then from the areas that border Afghanistan.
Right, my last question to you, Mr. Gul, before I let you go. Everything that could possibly go wrong in Pakistan is going wrong. We discussed about the economic crisis and the political mayhem and even terror attacks. From this situation, can Pakistan pick up the sticks?
Well, I'm sure Pakistan will pick up the sticks. Pakistan is currently undergoing a massive transition, socio-political and economic transition, and it has already hit the rock bottom, and it has also instilled a new realization among the ruling elites that this country cannot survive with a model that they have pursued so far, that they shall have to mend their ways and that the economic model shall have to be recalibrated.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us and WION, Mr. Gul, and sharing your insights on this. Thanks very much.
Welcome.